Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarasvati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupidi Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamai Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Paramananda Madhavam. Okay. Let's read from verse 14 to 19. Okay, let's read that. Sarvametadritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava nahi te bhagavan vyaktim vidurdevanadhanavaha Swayamevatmanatmanam Vetha Tvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate Bhaktum Arhasya Sheshena Divya Hyatma Vibhutayaha Yabhir Vibhutibhir Lokan Imam Stvam Vyapya Tishtasi Katham Vidyamaham Yogin Tvam Sada Parichintayan Keshu Keshu Cha Bhaveshu Chintyosim Bhagavan Maya Vistarenatmano Yogam Vibhutim Cha Janardana Bhuyah Kathaya Tripterhi Shrinvato Nasti Memritam Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Kathayishyami Divya Hyatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatah Kuru Shreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. So here, very, very beautifully, Arjuna is praising Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And he says that, Bhagavan, I believe that whatever you tell me is true. I believe it is true, but I still need more. My heart, Gurudev says, my heart is satisfied and overflowing with faith, but the intellect is starved and thirsting. So I believe you, but I need something a little more. I believe that you are the source of everything, the sustenance, the dissolution of everything, but I need to see something else. And Arjuna says in verse number 14, the Devas nor the Danavas know you. Neither the Devas nor the Danavas know you. Meaning, neither the good thoughts nor the bad thoughts can know you. And he says, I want you to tell me for yourself, by yourself, who you are. Svayam evat manatmanam. In verse number 15, Vetha means I want to know who you are. You tell me by yourself who you are. I know you are the source of beings, the ruler of all, the God of gods, but please, you yourself tell me more. And Arjuna says that I want the whole details. I want to know your Vibhuti. I want to know your Vibhuti, and I want to know all of it. Without reserve, you tell me everything. And you tell me the Vistara. You tell me the Vistara of it. And his question in verse number 17 is very, very beautiful. He says, Katam vidyam aham yogin. How will I know you? Tuam sada parichintayan. How, ever meditating on you, how will I know you? This is question number 1. How shall I, ever meditating, know you? Question 2. Keshu keshu chabhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. How are you to be thought of in various, what aspects or forms are you to be thought of? So he has 2 main questions here. So 1 is meditating, how can I think of you? And 2, what are your various aspects by which I can think of you? Arjuna's question is very deep because right now people are asking the same question. They might not be thinking, oh, how do I think about Bhagavan? But they're thinking, how do I get rid of negative thoughts? Lots of people are thinking, how do I get rid of negative thoughts when they come in the mind, when all of a sudden they rise from nowhere? We don't know where they rise, how they come from, but they come. How do I get rid of that and think of something better? So you please tell me, because I don't want my mind clouded by all of that negativity. And when we keep thinking about negativity, it creates an impression and it prompts us to act in that direction. All these crimes, this violence that takes place, it doesn't take place because of just one thought or one idea. It takes place because of the thinking and thinking about it again and again. So here, in this question, also for today, for us, it is, how can we think of something good again and again and again and again? And he says, sada, not just once, but all the time. And parichintana, pari here means in all spaces, in all places. How can I think of you? How can I keep my mind in this positivity? The world now is changing. It's so unstable and unpredictable. And every moment we don't know what's going to happen. But instead of focusing on all of that, how can I think of you? How can I think of you? This is what Arjuna says to Sri Krishna. And he says, I am still not satisfied hearing your glories. I've heard them, but I'm still not satisfied. There's a thirst that Arjuna has. And seeing this thirst, Bhagavan feels compelled to tell Arjuna. And in verse number 19, he tells Arjuna, listen, Arjuna, I will tell you about my Vibhutis, but I cannot tell you all of them. I will only tell you the predominant ones. Pradhanyataha. I will only tell you the predominant ones. Why can't Bhagavan talk about all his Vibhutis? Because he's infinite. Bhagavan is infinite. And if you look at it, even with finite things, we cannot count. Can you count how much grass there is outside your yard? Can you count how many grains of sand there are by the beach? Can you count how many grains of rice are there on your plate when you eat food or dinner or lunch? Even the finite, we can't count. We can't count how many finite things there are. So how would we count the infinite? We can't even count how many planets there are. They keep changing. Or how many galaxies, or how many universes. So Bhagavan is something that's infinite, so we cannot count him. He cannot be counted. He says, my Vibhutis, there's no end to them. There's no end to them. It encompasses everything. But yet, I will tell you the predominant ones. Now, what does it mean that Bhagwan is going to talk about predominant Vibhutis? First, we must understand that Bhagwan's real nature is Sat-Chit-Ananda, pure existence, consciousness, bliss. And that Sat-Chit-Ananda is really the substratum of the whole entire world. It is a substratum of the whole entire world. And everything in this world is only superimposed on that. But there is something called manifest Sat, manifest Chit, and manifest Ananda. Sat, in its pure nature, is existence. In its pure nature is existence. When we talk about manifest Sat, it means something that solidly exists. You can feel that it really exists. Chit is pure consciousness. When we talk about manifest Chit, it means life. That consciousness, when it shines through the mind, it manifests as life. If it shines through a rock, it doesn't manifest life because the rock has no mind. But human beings, animals, they have minds, and therefore there's manifest Chit, or what you call life. Ananda is bliss. Manifest Ananda is peace, So in this whole entire world, whatever manifests Sat and Chit and Ananda, that is considered a Vibhuti. That is considered a Vibhuti because that manifests Sat-Chit Ananda takes us to the unmanifest Sat-Chit Ananda. I'll give you an example. You take a building and you take a tree. Now, both of those, Bhagavan is in both of them. That pure Sat-Chit-Ananda is in both of them. But what is the difference? The building has manifest Sat. You can maybe say the building has manifest Chit, if there are people around there living there. But not necessarily it has manifest Ananda. There could be a lot of ruckus and noise and, all kinds of things going on. But when you look at a tree, you look at it and it's tall and sturdy, you feel manifest Sat. And the way it sways when the wind moves, you can feel its manifest Chit. And when you just stand near it, you feel peace, Ananda. So that tree becomes a Vibhuti because it has that manifestation and it takes me inward. It takes me to that Sat-Chit-Ananda within me. You can compare an airplane and a bird. An airplane is there, it's Sat, right? Chit, probably there's life in the airplane. But not Ananda because there's delays all the time now when you hop on a flight, right? But with the bird, you just see that it's there, it's existing. There's life to it. And when you just watch a bird fly, you feel lifted. So that is called a Vibhuti. That's called a Vibhuti. So in this chapter, it's not that Bhagwan is only in these Vibhutis. He is in everything. But it's these ones that take us within. And that's why he will enumerate these specific ones. But now, remember, he said Vibhuti and yoga. So before he expresses his Vibhutis, first he will express his yoga. Remember, there were two questions. In what way, meditating on you, can I think of you? The question number 1. The answer to that is verse 20. Bhagwan's yoga. And question number 2, in what aspects can I feel you most? The answer to question number 2 is all the other vibhutis. So let's first see the answer to question number 1, verse 20. It's a very, very beautiful verse. Let's take that up. Ahamatma gudakesha
Ahamatma gudakesha
sarvabhutashayasthitaha
sarvabhutashayasthitaha
ahamadishcha madhyam cha
ahamadishcha madhyam cha
bhutanamanta eva cha
bhutanamanta eva cha
ahamatma gudakesha sarvabhutashayasthitaha aham adishcha madhyam cha bhutanamanta eva cha. He says, aham. Bhagavan says, aham. I am Atma. I am the self. O Gudakesha. O Arjuna, I am the self. Sarva Bhuta Shayastitaha. That is stitaha. That is seated. Ashaya in the heart. Sarva Bhuta of all beings. I am that self which is seated in the heart of all beings. Aham, I, Adihi, I am the beginning. Madhyam, I am the middle. And middle of Bhutanam, of all beings. And Antaha, I am also the end. Evacha, even, I am even the end. I am the self, O Gudakesha, seated in the hearts of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and also the end of all beings. This is Bhagwan's yoga. If we get this, then we don't have to think about the Vibhutis. This is the yoga. Here in the Bhagavad Gita, this verse is considered a Mahavakya. What is a Mahavakya? Mahavakya means Maha, great Vakya statements. All of the Upanishads have Mahavakyas. And these are great statements because they reveal our oneness with that Supreme Self. So any statement that reveals our oneness with the Supreme Self is called a Mahavakya. And it doesn't have to be English or Sanskritam. It can be in any language. Now, we have a representation of Mahavakyas. There are many, but we have 4 as a representation. The first one we have is called the Lakshana Vakya, Prajnanam Brahma, meaning consciousness is Brahman. And it's called Lakshana Vakya because it indicates what Brahman is. Lakshana, indicator, indicates that consciousness is Brahman. The second Mahavakya is called Upadesha Vakya. And it is Tattvam Asi, means that you are. So imagine if a teacher is teaching someone about who their true self is. What is the nature of the self? So first the teacher will say, consciousness is the self. And then the teacher will say, Tattvam Asi, that self you are. It's called Upadesha Vakya. Upadesha means teaching. And then the student gets it. And the student says, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. And this is called Anubhava Vakya. The actual experience of the student says, I am Brahman. And then after that, all the student does is just revels in this knowledge. I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. And that is the Anusandhana Vakya. Meaning, that's what the student dwells on. So this is traditionally how this great statement unfolds. That first consciousness is Brahman. Then you are Brahman, the teacher says, and the student says, I am Brahman. And the student goes on to contemplate on it. I am Brahman. This Atman is Brahman. Now, what's the beauty about this Mahavakya is the teacher's not saying it, the student's not saying it, Bhagwan himself is saying that I am your Atma, I am yourself. Oh Gudakesha. Gudakesha means Gudaka Isha, the one who is the Lord of sleep, the one who can control his sleep, who can overcome, who can win over his sleep. So Bhagwan is calling Arjuna Gudakesha, meaning now wake up from the sleep of ignorance. I am Atma. I am your Atma. That's who I truly am. Stop looking for me as something else, but I am your Atma. And this word, Atma, has a very, very beautiful meaning. Now I'm going to share that now with you so you can see. This meaning comes in Kathopanishad. I think it's 2.1.1. And it tells you what exactly is Atma. Yat chapnoti yadadatte yat chati vishayan iha yat chasya santato bhavaha tasmad atmeti kirtyate. Yacha apnoti means that which pervades everything. So here it's talking about the consciousness that pervades the dream state. Yad adatte. Yad adatte means the one that swallows. It's talking about the consciousness that swallows up and gobbles up the entire world in deep sleep. Yacha ati. Yacha ati is the one who eats. The one who eats vishayan, the one who eats objects, iha, in the waking state. The one who eats objects in the waking state. Yacha asya, of this, santataha bhavaha, that which is continuously present. Therefore, tasmat atma iti kirtyate. Therefore, it is called atma. Because apnoti, then adatte, then ati, and therefore it's called atma. So what is atma? Atma is that pure consciousness that is the witness of the waking state. Through the mind, it eats objects meaning it experiences objects in the waking state. There's that consciousness that illumines everything in dream state. And in dream, it's consciousness alone pervading everything. Whatever you dream, it's only consciousness. You might dream of a big house in a nice island with lots of plants and lots of color and walls and rooms, but that whole thing is only consciousness. There's no substance there. And in deep sleep, that consciousness as though swallows everything up, and there's no more world for us to experience. And there's no more ego as well to experience. Therefore, that which pervades everything, that which is there constantly, that's called Atma. And Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Arjuna, Aham Atma. I am you. I am you. I am that self in you. Not just in you, but in all beings. That indivisible self. It's not many, many selves. It's one indivisible self, like space. Absolutely indivisible. We might think there's many types of space, but really space is only one. It's not that there's room space and kitchen space and bedroom space. We might call it like that, But there's only one space pervading everything. You can't cut space. You can't break space. Even if they say you enclose space, in between the enclosed wood or cement, there is space. So Atma is subtler than space. It cannot be broken just because there's a limitation of the body. It cannot be broken because there's a supposedly limitation of the mind. It cannot be broken because the gross can never limit the subtle. So I am that Atma, not just of you, but Sarva Bhuta, of all beings. I am seated in the heart of all beings. And it's really, really beautiful because in our culture, when we do puja, this whole bhava comes out, right? When we do puja, one of the very first steps, actually of the 16 steps is avahanam. Avahanam means that I am giving life to this murti now in front of me. That's why we touch this left hand to the heart and the right hand to the murti, and we say, from me, let there be life in the murti. Because Atma is within me. And then we dress up the murti, and of course we offer a seat, we offer water, we do abhisheka, we dress up the murti, we do arati, and then we call the murti back. We say, now I have offered everything to you, now let me take back the life of that murti. And that happens in Udvasanam. So it is very evident in our culture that Atma is I, that Bhagwan is I, because even when we do puja, that's what we're doing. Even when we go to the temple, we're closing our eyes and doing this because we know that Bhagwan is here. When we get emotional and we sing bhajans and we're in kirtan, we feel it in our heart. Bhagavan is aham, aham, aham. I, and not idam, idam, idam. Not this. In Kenopanishad, it says very beautifully, Nedam yadidam upasate. That Bhagavan will never be idam. Idam means this. Bhagavan will never be an object of your experience. Bhagavan is always aham, aham, aham. Is always the seer and not the seen. But you know what is the beauty of bhakti? The beauty of bhakti is to make the seer the seen and the seen the seer. The beauty of bhakti is you are the seer, and then once you invoke life into that murti, you become the seen and the murti is a seer. This is what happens with bhakti. And it's a beautiful play. So when you want to play with bhakti, fine. But ultimately, Bhagavan says that I am you. And because I am you, I am always the subject. Because when we say I is always the subject. When we want to know who we are, that I is beyond this body. I'm the subject, the body is an object of my experience. I am beyond this mind. I'm the subject, the mind is an object of my experience. Beyond this intellect, I am the subject, the intellect, the personality is the object of my experience. I can be aware of Shubhani, but Shubhani can never be aware of me. That means that's not me. So that Atma, which pervades all three states, Bhagavan says, I am that. I am that. And I am that in all beings. Again, a Mahavakya will come in chapter 13. But in this chapter, 10.20, this is exactly where he says it. And he says, I am the origin. I am the beginning. I am the middle. And I'm the end of all beings. What does this mean? Bhagwan is telling us, I am the purpose, I am the presence, and I am the peace. Beginning, purpose. The purpose of why we're here, why everything is the way it is, that beginning, that is Bhagwan. Many people will ask, why was the world created this way? Nanda, why did everything happen this way? Who made it like this? What is this creation and why did it happen? It's so much samsara, so much suffering. Why did it happen? The answer is, it is Bhagwan's natural expression. Bhagwan's nature is to express. Whenever anyone has any power, naturally they express. If somebody is very, very good in singing, try to tell them not to sing. It's impossible. If somebody is very good at playing the tabla, when they're sitting down and eating dinner, they're doing it on the table. Tell them not to play. It's impossible. Bhagwan's nature is to appear. Tell Bhagwan not to appear. It's impossible. So Bhagwan's very nature is to appear. So he is the purpose. He is the source. He's the beginning. And in and through the appearance of this whole srishti, this whole manifestation, Bhagavan is present. In fact, it's his presence that sustains everything. He's a constant presence that sustains everything. And the end of this whole cycle is only peace. So Bhagavan says, I am that peace. When you come to realize me, I am that peace. As I said before, at some point, when we stop seeking, we will start seeing. In the beginning stages, we are to purify our mind, make our mind sharp, make our mind subtle, make the mind selfless. But after a certain point, all the striving has to go away. Because only when the striving goes, then the real vision comes alive. It's like, I'm sure this would have happened to you, that you would have met somebody you recognized, but you couldn't remember their name. And you say, oh, the name's on the tip of my tongue, the tip of my tongue. And you can't remember the name because the mind is striving. It's so tense, it's so anxious. And then you go home, you have a shower, you have a cup of tea, and then boom, the name comes. Right? The same way, after some point, the striving stops. And only when the striving stops, that peace will unfold. Because it's already in you. You don't have to do much. Just have to be quiet. So Bhagwan says, I am the beginning, meaning I am the purpose. I am the middle. I am the presence. And I am the end. I am that peace. Whatever peace, I am the end of that striving. Once that striving is over, that peace will naturally exude in everyone. So with this, Bhagavan says, his yoga. And if we get his yoga, then guess what? No need to go through Vibhuti. Yeah, because this yoga, if somebody is capable of abiding in this yoga, abide in this yoga. But most of us, our minds are quite gross. It's hard to grasp this yoga, that Bhagavan is the Atma. So he says, now let me tell you some ways where you can think of me in and through daily life. And the beauty is Bhagavan points out things that we can actually see. A lot of things that we we can actually see. So let's start now from verse 21 to see his Vibhutis. Adityanamaham Vishnuhu
आदित्यानामहं विष्णुः
Jyotisham Raviram Shuman
ज्योतिषां रविरंशुमान्
Marichirmarutamasmi
मरीचिर्मरुदामस्मि
Nakshatranamaham Shashi
नक्षत्राणामहं शशि
Adityanamaham Vishnuhu Jyotisham Raviram Shuman Marichirmarutamasmi Nakshatranamaham Shashi. So he says here, Adityanam, among the 12 Adityas, Aham Vishnu, I am Vishnu. Jyotisham, among the lights, Ravihi Amshuman, I am that sun, Ravihi. Many people have that name, Ravi. Huh? The sun, Amshuman, the one with many rays. Marichihi, I am Marichi, Marutam, of the Maruts, of the winds, Asmi. Nakshatranam, among the asterisms, Aham Shashi, I am the moon. Some people also have the name Shashi. Huh? So those are Vibhutis of Bhagwan. If you have those names, those are Bhagwan's Vibhutis. And some people have the name also Aditya. Huh? Among the 12 Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among the luminaries, I am the radiant sun. I am Marichi among the Maruts. And among the asterisms, the moon am I. So we take one by one. Adityana. Now, Adityas, who are they? See, there's Aditi. Rishi Kashyapa had two wives, Diti and Aditi. Aditi gave birth to all the Devatas, and Diti gave birth to all the Asuras. So Aditi's 12 children are known as Adityas. Adityas. Oh. And of her 12 children, there is one child by the name of Vishnu. But who is this Vishnu actually? This Vishnu is that Vamana avatara. That avatara of Bhagwan who came as a Vamana or dwarf. You see what happened here is, Aditi's son is Indra. And Indra is the foremost of the Devatas. He's like the king. Huh? Indra is actually the position. So when one holds that position, they're called Indra. So her son held that position, Indra. And he's like the king of kings. But then what happened was Raja Bali defeated him and took over all of the land. And so Aditi did tapasya to get a son to take back that land. And so when she did tapasya, she got Bhagavan Vishnu coming as Vamana avatara. Bhagavan Vishnu comes as a dwarf. And he is going to get back the land, but he cannot do anything wrong to Raja Bali because Raja Bali defeated Indra. So he cannot do it through battle or any of those kinds of means. He has to do it properly. So what he does is he takes that Vamana avatara. When he takes that Vamana avatara as a dwarf, he goes to Raja Bali. And he goes and he asks, he begs for something while Raja Bali is doing a huge sacrifice. And Raja Bali says, whatever you want, I will give. And Raja Bali's guru was there. Shukracharya said, don't. I think it's a trick. But then Raja Bali said, no, whatever this Vatu, he was like a Brahmana, whatever he wants, I will give. So this avatara in the form of Vishnu said, I want 3 steps of land. Now remember, he was like a dwarf. So Raja Bali said, is that it? He said, yeah, I just want 3 steps of land. And when Raja Bali said yes, this Vamana Avatara grew really big. And with the first step, he took over the whole earth. And the next step, he took over the heavens. And the third step, there was nowhere for him to step. So he stepped over Raja Bali's head. Raja Bali gave him the head and he stepped over that. Now the meaning here is very, very beautiful. The meaning here is that this Bhagwan, he fulfilled his avatara, he fulfilled the penance of Aditi. He got back the land for Indra in a rightful way. And even after that, after he conquered all of that with Raja Bali, he gave Raja Bali a kingdom in this Patala Loka, in one of the other worlds. Now, the deeper significance of this is this Vamana avatar shows us that if we give Bhagwan just 3 minutes, 3 small steps, he will take over our whole life. It starts with 3 steps. Just give him 3 minutes and he will make himself so big that he will take over our whole world, all of our thoughts, and eventually our ego. So among the Adityas, Bhagavan says, I am Vishnu. I am that Vamana Avatara. I'm that Vamana Avatara. So just give me 3 minutes of your time and I will take over. Then he says, Jyotisham Kraviram Shuman. Among the lights, I am the sun. I am the sun. And here, very beautifully, you just have to think about how glorious the sun is. You know, it's unfortunate that before, back in the day, we were very much into photography, photographing scenery. But now we're into selfies, right? But really, if you look at Bhagavan's Vibhuti, there's so much there. And when we start forgetting about our appearance, we can focus on Bhagavan's appearance. When we stop focusing on our knowledge or our thoughts, then we are open to Bhagavan's knowledge and thoughts. When we stop focusing on our actions, we are open to Bhagavan's actions. So these Vibhutis are also telling us to start focusing on something greater. Now, in one of our classes before, we did this presentation on the glories of the sun. So I just wanted to share that with you also. All the different ways we can think of the sun. And I'm sure there are many, many more ways, but this is just to show you how glorious the sun is. How glorious it is. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to share with you some slides here, right? Here we think about nine different ways to think about the sun. Okay. So here. Right. So one aspect, one way to think about the sun is the silent karma yogi. Because the sun never takes a day off. And the sun never says, I did it, I deserve all the credit. The sun doesn't say any of that. The sun simply just shines in its own right. And it just keeps selflessly serving. It doesn't need any attention. It doesn't need anything. It just does its dharma. So just thinking about that, gets so much inspiration. The sun is also like the ultimate bhakta, devotee, because it's so bright and cheerful. Whenever the sun comes, you feel cheer, you feel lightness, you feel brightness. And these are qualifications of a bhakta. A bhakta is someone where whenever you're around them, you feel that lightness, that cheer, that delight. The sun is that ultimate bhakta. The sun is also the ultimate jnani. So we did the three paths: karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and now jnana yoga. Why is the sun like the wise one? Because with the sun we can see everything clearly. Now, if there are clouds over the sky, you can't make out what is what. But with that sun shining so brightly, you can see everything clearly. The sun is also like Ishvara. Why? Because the sun is impartial. A sun doesn't choose to shine on anybody more or on somebody less. The sun just shines. And if you're open to it, you'll get light. So the sun has no favorites, like Ishvara. Sun is also like Guru. Why is the sun like Guru? Because the sun's always guiding us in the right direction. Before we had clocks and all these kinds of things, we had the sundial. And through the sundial, we could tell which way to go or what time of day it was. So the sun is also like Guru. Sun is like a great Mahatma because, I go back, because when the sun rises and the sun sets, it's the same color. It's that reddish hue. Also for a Mahatma, when things are going well, when things are not going well, they're the same hue, means they maintain the same equipoise. Just like the sunrise, the sunset, whether it's rising, it's setting, it's the same color. Whether things are rising or setting, that Mahatma is the same color, equanimous. The sun is also like a loving parent because the sun gives lots of warmth and hugs and even a sun kiss on the face. The sun is like a parent. You can feel your parent in the sun. That's why Karna's father was Surya. Karna's father was Surya, an abode of strength. Hanumanji learned from Surya. The sun is also like a carefree child because it's full of energy, full of energy. When you see the sun, you just feel energized. You feel like waking up. The sun is like our true self. It's the core of our being. It's due to that sun, that Atman, that everything functions. The sun is also like our true self. So in this way, of all the lights, there can be no light like the sun. And that's also why we chant Gayatri mantra. And a Gayatri will also come, in this Vibhuti. And when it comes, we'll definitely talk about it. But this, if we just take one thing and think about it in all these different ways, we will see how glorious it is. I'm reminded of one story of the sun and the wind. So the sun was always shining brightly in the sky, and the wind got jealous one day. And the wind said, I want to have a competition with you. The sun said, okay, I don't really need a competition. I don't want to do all of that stuff. But the wind insisted, no, let's have. The sun said, fine. So the sun said, what do you want to do? The wind said, look, you see that guy? He has his jacket, right? His jacket on. Let's see who's stronger. Who's the first one who can get the jacket off the guy? And so the sun said, fine. So the wind kept blowing and blowing and blowing so that the man his jacket would just fly away. So the wind kept blowing, like how your umbrella goes topsy-turvy, like that. So he was blowing and blowing and blowing for the jacket to fly away. But the man kept holding on to the jacket, so it never flew away. He maybe moved with the wind, but the jacket didn't fly away. And then the sun was just shining and it became very hot. So guess what the man did? He himself just took off the jacket. And the wind said, "Ah," so upset. And he realized that the glory of the sun is just shining. Doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything, just shines. There's a glory in the sun. Marichir marutam asmi. Of all the maruts are the winds, I am Marichi. Who's Marichi? So now I told you about Kashyapa Rishi. He had two wives, Diti and Aditi. And Aditi had the Devatas, Diti had the Asuras. And Diti wanted to her children to conquer the Devatas. So she asked Kashyapa Rishi, can you give me some tips? I wanna take up a fast, a vrata, so that I give birth to somebody who can conquer the Devatas. And Kashyapa Rishi gave her a ritual, a practice. But he said, don't break it. You have to follow it for about a year, and don't break it. If you break it, then that's it. So she followed it. She was very faithful. But what happened is she broke it one day. She broke it. Because of that, instead of giving birth to somebody who would destroy the Devatas, she gave birth to the Maruts, the winds, 49 types of winds. And those winds would always help the Devatas. And the foremost of those winds is Marichi. Marichi. So how do we see wind as a glory, as a Vibhuti of Bhagwan? There's something that's called destructive destruction, but there's also something called constructive destruction. Sometimes I know it's hard when we have typhoons, when we have hurricanes, when we have such strong winds that trees have to fall and things have to break and electricity has to go off. But there has to be a way for the whole world to balance, for the whole world to be in harmony. So these winds, these 49 winds that are actually with the Devatas and Marichi being the foremost of them, they are these constructive destruction, meaning natural. They're not in it to harm or anybody. They're just a natural occurrence that sets the whole universe back in harmony. So when you feel a strong wind, know that that's Marichi. That's Marichi who's setting the whole world back in harmony. Nakshatra aham shashi. Among the asterisms, I am the moon. Now, when you look at the night sky, I know Karva Chauth was recently and some of you were waiting for the moon. When you look at the night sky and you look at all twinkling stars, what's the luminary that stands apart? It's that moon. When you look at the moon, Bhagavan says, think about me. The moon is also called Soma. Soma means that moon. And some people, because of Soma, they're called Saumya. Huh? Saumya means somebody who's pleasing, who's pleasant, who's cooling. So Bhagavan says, think of me when you see the moon, because the moon is so pleasing, pleasant, cooling. Living in the city, we have all these bright lights. And then there's LED lights, and there's different color lights, and there's disco lights, and all kinds of things, spotlights. But all of them hurt your eyes, really. But when you look at the moon, you don't feel that. You feel calmness in your eyes. And moon is also something that Bhagwan Shiva carries on his forehead. And moon is also that which sustains and nourishes all of our herbs. Our herbs, our plants, the moon nourishes that, the moon sustains that. So he says, of all the luminaries, when you look at the moon, just think of me. Just think of how peaceful the moon is. That's how peaceful I am. So today we'll stop here. I'll just do a brief summary. Arjuna asks 2 questions. He asks, in what way can I think of you? Meditating, can I think of you? And the second question, in what aspects can I feel you most? So the answer to question number 1 is Bhagwan's yoga. What is Bhagwan's yoga? Bhagwan's essence. I am Atma. I am the self in you. I am that pure consciousness. I am that pure awareness. I am that subject. I can never be an object. I am the subject in all beings. And if you can think about me that way, that's it. But the reality is, sometimes it's very difficult to go beyond the mind. So Bhagwan says, in answer to question number 2, think of me in these many, many, many different aspects. Among the Adityas, I am Vishnu, or that Vamana avatar. Among the lights, I am the sun. Among the winds, I am Marichi. And among the luminaries in the night sky, I am that moon. So now, as we're doing this Vibhuti Yoga, our sadhana is keshu chabhaveshu, is keep looking for Bhagwan's Vibhutis. See something and see Bhagwan in it. See a leaf and see Bhagwan in it. See a flower, see Bhagwan in it. Whatever you do, keep your mind in that reality. And in that way, you'll always be filled with peace. Right. Say the closing prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.